Hey, what's the difference between struggle and generational wealth? Is it structure? Well, let's see. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or passion or opportunity. They fail because they were never taught how to structure their business like the wealthy do. Okay? So here's the part that nobody tells you. If you're opening a new chapter at 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, there comes a moment after 40 when our life invites us to step into a deeper level of purpose. That's where you are right now. You gathered wisdom along the way, you've gathered resilience, and you have clarity that can only be taught with a person who has gleaned this over time. So now you're standing at the perfect intersection of experience and opportunity. You're standing right in a place where you're starting or you're expanding a business. And at this stage, it's not just possible, it's powerful. So today I want to show you how your next chapter can be your most profitable, your most fulfilling, your most influential yet. And if you're ready to grow, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. And so I'm going to remind you that if you haven't picked up a copy of the guide that we work from, you want to pick up a copy of that from Amazon.com. Now, as we talked before, I'm going to show you the blueprint that the wealthy use quietly and consistently and strategically. So what they do to protect their assets and to multiply their income is they use this to build legacy. Yeah, legacy that's going to outlive them. So a lot of times we're accustomed to hoarding money, saving money, putting it into different types of layers of investments, and that's good. But when we start to build our C corporations, we don't consider the fact that the very corporation itself is an asset. I know because over the years, when we've run into brick walls and we had difficulty being able to grow beyond that or to sustain, what we learned was how to sell and transfer our stock to raise capital. And that way, I didn't have to try to build business credit, although we do have business credibility. But it was wiser for us to sell and transfer stock because in this way, we hold a value. So that's a way of multiplying. But there's another way. And by the end of this presentation, you're going to know exactly why you need to get the book, to join the class, to subscribe to my channel, because this is the kind of knowledge that transforms families, not just businesses. Now, I know you guys that are enrolled in the class are looking at this like, well, we're already enrolled in the class and we already have the book. But some of you haven't subscribed to the channel. And for those who are going to be watching that haven't done either, I'm going to show you why it's going to benefit you. So for those of you who are already a part of the class, some of you who are right now in this Zoom with me, I want to make sure that I'm not only covering you in the curriculum that we're following, but I'm also speaking to those people who have never seen this before. So the power of structure. The wealthy don't guess, they build. If you've ever wondered how major corporations, real estates, empires, and multi business owners stay protected and stay profitable and stay in control, it's because they understand one thing: structure is strategy. They're not ducking and dodging, not wanting certain people to know what type of revenue they're bringing in because they've got a structure that's set up based on strategy that protects their income. So there are people who can look at your corporation, especially those of you that I've talked to. So I've got a couple of you that are on this Zoom right now, and you bring in close to $1 million a year. Okay. And for those of you, you set your life up in such a way that others don't know what you have and what you don't have. You set it up so that someone looking at you from a natural perspective without understanding your corporate structure would think that you were on a lower income level. That's because you allow most of the revenue to remain in your corporation and you operate from there. Okay, that is a structural strategy. All right. When we look at a structural strategy, one of the most powerful structures you can create is a holding company and a trust company. Now, under a C corporation umbrella, This isn't theory. This is like a way of setting up an architecture for wealth. So let me show you how it works and why you need to master it. Okay, just to give you an example, well, I'm not going to give you a personal example. I'll leave that for those of you. So when I do just the one-on-one and we're not a full Zoom where everybody's watching, then I'll go through some personal encounters. But right now, I'm just going to talk to you uh, on a more general basis. So the blueprint of power is what we're talking about. Holding companies, trust companies, and C corporations. A holding company is like a fortress of protection. A holding company is not where you work, it's where you own. It's designed to acquire and manage um, equity in your subsidiaries. So you hold and protect your assets under this holding company. You centralize your strategy and your financing and oversight under this holding company. You shield your wealth from operational risk in the holding company, and you maintain compliance while staying in control, all underneath your holding company. This is where your real estate, your vehicles, your intellectual property, your contracts, your cash, your reserves, your technology, they all live safely. So if you've ever seen so if you watch the podcast, the Easy Corporate Comprehensive Curriculum for New Business Owners, I think it's called Starting at 40 Plus and Beyond. We changed the name of the podcast to Starting at 40 Plus and Beyond. And that's because we are specifically targeting those who are 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, who are getting into strategically setting up their corporations. You now have some giftings that you've gleaned over the years as you've worked for other companies, and now that you're retired or getting ready to retire, you're building your own corporations and you're setting up legacy for your generations to come in your family. It's going to outlive you. It's going to survive you, and it's going to survive the next generations. And so what we're talking about as we address your specific needs is understanding where to put your assets, your company's assets, to protect them. So if you've ever seen the videos that are inside the podcast, then what you have seen is that they will say at the end of the podcast, this video is the intellectual property of Jacqueline Enterprise Inc. And then you'll see my crest come up, my corporate crest come up. Okay, that's a holding company. Underneath that holding company, if I own any real estate, if I own anything, that asset is underneath the holding company. We've transferred the owner, the literal transference has taken place where that asset has been transferred in writing to the holding company. If it's real estate, there is actually a deed of record that shows that that vested interest that I may have had in that real estate has now been transferred to the holding company. All right. So it's a way of placing all of your assets, your cash reserves, your technology safely under the holding company. You operate the company, and when you do that, typically your operating company is taking the risk. Your holding company holds the wealth. So if your operating company takes a hit, so the operating company will be the names of all the companies that you know that we have. Those are the operating companies. If they take a hit, then of course those who are involved, when they do discovery, they'll be looking for any assets that you have in your operating company. And what they'll find is that you don't have any assets under your operating company. That's because your assets would have been transferred under the protection and the umbrella and the security of your holding company. Your holding company holds the wealth. Your operating company takes the risk. That's how wealthy stay wealthy. All right? So when you're dealing with a trust company, the legacy engine is where you combine a holding company with a trust company. You elevate your structure from business to uh, dynasty. Okay. All right. I'm going to say that again. When you combine the trust company and the holding company, you combine the holding company with the trust company, you elevate your structure from a business to dynasty. Because the trust company protects the assets from lawsuits. Now, we talked about the holding company holding the wealth of the company. Whatever it is that you have, if you have cash reserves, it could be as little as $2 or $3,000. It could be as little as $100,000, right? If you've got intellectual property, if you've got some contracts whereby you're leasing property to people, or you've got some contracts in terms of vendor contracts for future production and allocations, that's an asset. Yeah, you've got letters of intent from clients that are saying that they intend to send you a certain amount of business allocation over the years, over a period of time, that's an asset. You want to put all of that, any vehicles that you have, underneath the holding company, right? All right. So if you understand what the holding company is doing, you understand what your operating is doing. Now let's understand what the trust company is doing. Again, the trust company protects the assets from lawsuits. It ensures generational transfer, it reduces exposure, it creates long-term financial planning and stability. So if you have a some type of life insurance, and it's going to be something that you're using for key employees in your corporation, or you're using it for your family, then what you can do is you can make the beneficiary of that insurance policy your trust company, so that when the individual passes away and the insurance pays the beneficiary, they're going to pay it directly into the trust company. That's going to help everyone avoid the process of probate. So this is how you ensure that your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren benefit from the work that you're doing today. A C corporation is how you set up a strategic umbrella. That's the difference between an LLC, a partnership, a S corporation, and sole proprietorship. That's the difference between a C corporation and all of those type of corporate structures. Because under a C corporation, you can gain tax planning flexibility, investment leverage, the ability to raise capital through the selling of stock, separation of liability, multi-equity control. This is the structure used by major corporations, and it's available to you. So how it all comes together step by step. Here's the strategy. We look at your legal formation. So when you file your articles of incorporation, you choose a state and you appoint your directors. This is the basic foundation. You're going to have a registered agent in that area. Then when you look at your capitalization, you're going to transfer any assets. Now, when you're setting up that holding company, you set it up again as a C corporation. You file those articles of incorporation in whatever state that you choose to set up your holding company. You're going to appoint directors specifically for the holding company. This is not your operating company. This is your holding company. This is going to be the foundation for the holding company. Then you're going to transfer your assets or your shares that you have specifically for you personally into the holding company. Any assets that the company may have, you're going to transfer those into the holding company. This is where the protection begins. All right. Then you're going to set up a subsidiary designation in the language of the holding company. So your original C corporation becomes a subsidiary and your holding company becomes the parent company. You now control the structure. It's not the other way around. And then when you're dealing with the tax compliance and the setup, you register that EIN just like you would with a regular corporation or operating entity. But you're setting this up for your holding company. You're going to set up a bank account just for the holding company, right? Several bank accounts. You know how we talked about the bank accounts. You want to have an escrow account. You want to have an account for operating. We talked about that. And then you want to have an account where you set up your budget, and we talked about the percentages, and that's going to be in your savings for your holding corporation. All right. So you're going to establish your bank accounts, and then you're going to establish compliance, whatever your resolution is going to be for the holding account. This is where your structure begins in terms of operations. Now, why the wealthy use this structure? Well, they use it to protect their assets. See, your assets will be isolated from lawsuits and operational risk when you do it this way. You've got operational flexibility, you've got subsidiary protection because you can operate independently. Each subsidiary can operate independently. So every company that you have underneath that holding company is operating independently of the holding company. So the holding company is not responsible for your operations and any risks that may be involved. You control everything from the top. And it also provides tax efficiency, strategic planning across multiple entities. There's an investment leverage that's there because you can acquire companies underneath the holding company. You can form joint ventures from underneath the holding company without touching the operation. That operational corporation or your subsidiary, they're one and the same. The subsidiary is where you operate your corporations, all right? So, but those are separate. You can form joint ventures from underneath the holding company, raise capital right underneath the holding company, and you can expand without exposing your personal assets. It's a way for you to build legacy. Your structure becomes a generational wealth engine. So listen, if you're serious about this moment, then you need to make a move because this is your moment. You now need to understand the blueprint. I've gone through it with you. I hope that you watch this over and over and over again. Because once you understand the blueprint, and I believe that now you should understand the blueprint because I tried to make it as simplistic as possible. So I'm gonna make an assumption that you understand the blueprint. And now that you understand the blueprint, I want you to know understanding is not enough. Implementation is where transformation happens. If you're ready, and I believe you are, if you're ready to protect your assets, build a multi entity empire, create generational wealth, and remember there are steps. There are steps. And every step, I heard a sermon yesterday, every round should go higher and higher. You're making steps, you're not leaping. And this is you growing, you're making steps. And it's very important that you strategically set up these steps to get you to the expected outcome and destiny. So you're creating generational wealth. You operate like the wealthy. And finally, you take control of your financial destiny. If you're ready for that, and I believe you are, then it's time to take the next step. You want to go ahead, if you haven't done so already, you want to go ahead and pick up this book. Easy Corporate Comprehensive Curriculum for New Business Owners. And you can order it on Amazon.com. Now, I want you to take a look behind me. This image that you see behind me is the cover of the second edition of this book. This is going to be a hard copy. It's not going to be a paperback. It's a literal hard copy. I hope you can see it behind me. It's a hard copy of the Easy Corporate Comprehensive Curriculum for New Business Owners. And it is, let me see if you can see it behind me. Yeah. It's the second edition of this book. And it's going to be, if you thought this book helped you, what you're going to get from the second edition is going to be even greater because we're going to talk more about holding companies and trust companies and private placement memorandums and boutique brokerages and how to, and we're going to have some of them on our podcast so that they'll actually be walking us through what you can expect when you start to set up with the boutique brokerages and to sell your stock there. So, but the first thing you want to do, get the book. This presentation is just the beginning. My book breaks down the entire strategy step by step with templates and diagrams and real world examples that you can apply immediately. Enroll in the class. Because if you want hands-on guidance, live instruction, and personalized support, my class will walk you through building your structure from the ground up. And then the next thing you want to do is subscribe to the channel. Now, what you'll see is the podcast that's available. Subscribe to that podcast. It's very important. Starting your business at 40 plus. This is specifically designed for people that are 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus. It's going to help you go right into acceleration. Yeah, so that every step that you take is strategic to your growth and your exponential multiplication because time, time is a very valuable commodity. And so this is designed to help you maximize in the time that we're working with. So subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast. I release weekly content that teaches you how to build, protect, and scale your business using the same strategies. And when you enroll in the class, you're going to get a link not just for the class schedule, but you'll also get a link that will direct you to become a member in school, because we meet there. We have special guests that come to speak to us about how they have built what it is that you're working to scale for your business. So again, I release weekly content that teaches you how to build, protect, and scale your business using the same strategies that the wealthy use every day. The same strategies that I know work because I've used them and I do use them personally. I've used them over the years and I do use them personally. So your legacy is calling you right now. Answer it. You are one decision away from changing your financial trajectory. Yeah, one decision away of changing the financial trajectory of your entire bloodline. Think about that. Your financial trajectory for your entire bloodline. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't talk yourself out of what you deserve. Don't talk yourself out of the future that you deserve. And don't let other people convince you that it's not a good decision. Buy the book, enroll in the class, subscribe to the podcast. Yeah, because your empire, it starts right now. I'm Jacqueline Battle, and I have enjoyed being able to share this with you. The next move is on you.